let's move on to the main slate, and let's start off with some stacks you like for this week.
So I like going with the Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Hayden Hurst stack against the Panthers. Everyone saw them look horrible on Monday Night Football. So they should bounce back this weekend. If you look, they're all reasonably priced, which is interesting because, they were priced before they played like shit. So, they're playing a Panthers defense that ranks 27th in DVOA against the pass. Marcus Mariota just went ham against them. So even if the Bengals get up big, I don't even know if they're going to lean on the run game. They could just keep passing against this Panthers defense. So I just like going back to the well with those guys. I think the rostership should be fairly low this week, just after, a really poor game after the Jamar Chase injury. And then I'm going to also go with Tom Brady and Chris Godwin, sort of a similar spot where, the Bucs struggle on Thursday Night Football. I don't know if a lot of people are going to go with Brady, Godwin, or any Bucs stacks in general, but they're facing the Rams. So the Rams have a very good run D. I don't think the Bucs are going to run the ball at all here. So Brady's going to lean on Chris Godwin. He's going to line up in the slot most of the time. He's going to avoid Jalen Ramsey. So and again, we're going to see Chris Godwin score a touchdown at some point in this season. I promise it's going to happen. So I just like getting them on a week where they might not be rostered enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's people, it's got to be bottoming out in terms of the public perception
exactly
of the
as
Bucs
it should,
offense.
to be honest. But
they do have the long break to kind of get things together.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows, maybe now that the divorce is finalized, maybe Brady plays it a little. Maybe he was distracted. I mean, it's hard to tell with Brady. He's always been so good.
Yeah.
And he hasn't, not like he's thrown a pick or anything. And since week one, it's just been, it just seems like he's throwing short of the sticks in spots where he hadn't used to before. Or like when he does stand in and like wait for guys to get open, they're really not as open as they used to be. And the timing's a little off. Like it's not like these pinpoint throws. A lot of times it's like a throw ran like at the receiver's foot, like a yard to the left. It's like, It's just weird things that, what it kind of reminds me of? Remember that year, I think it was his last year in New England, when he was just always screaming at the receivers every week on the bench. It kind of reminds me of that, except with like the receivers are a lot better here. So it's weird.
Yeah.
But no, I like buying low on this team. The Rams defense just really hasn't been what we thought it was going to be. I mean, that they went hard for Brian Burns. I think they tried to get Robert Quinn. It didn't happen. The Rams are, let's see. They were 31st in pressure rate entering last week. Let's see where they are now.
Yeah, which is really weird.
Wow, they're still 31st. They're getting pressure just 12.6% of the time, according to Pro Football Reference. And that is a problem because Brady, what is he struggling with? Pressure. He's 45. Obviously, he's going to get rid of the ball under pressure. If you could let him stand in there, maybe he gets you 3 touchdowns. Maybe. We'll see. But I have a few, kind of a bunch of cheap ones that I think could hit if the game script goes correctly. First one is Terry McLaurin. Already talked about McLaurin on our Action Network pod presented by FanDuel on the Action Network channel. But love McLaurin this week. The Vikings are dead last in DVOA against number 1 receivers, which they were, I think, 31st heading into last week, and then Hopkins just destroyed them. So now they're dead last. And Heineke, he's just got a lot better chemistry with McLaurin than did Carson Wentz. If you look at the numbers, granted, it's only been 2 games this year. Obviously, we can go back to last year, but really the outlier for McLaurin was his first 6 games with Wentz this year, just 6.2 targets, 3.7 catches, 61 yards and 0.17 touchdowns. So with Heineke, 5.5 catches, 93 yards, and a half a touchdown per game on 8 targets. And that's a little more in line with what he's done in the past to start his career. So love that stack in a spot, Minnesota getting better on offense, getting TJ Hawkinson into the lineup. So I think this could be a sneaky game where a few more points are scored than the total is like 43.5, I think. I think you get more points than that. Kirk Cousins' revenge game. Not gonna take their foot off the throttle here.
They just got TJ Hawkinson too.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think, and again, when you're going with these cheap stacks, you're just trying to play up the correlation. Okay, where 2 guys that are cheap are going to be in a game script that forces them to produce like guys who are a little bit more expensive. So like that one. Another one. PJ Walker, DJ Moore. Thank you, DJ and PJ, for covering my Panthers
Oh yeah.
+4. I got him +5, but it closed at +4, I think. But yeah, thank you guys. That was probably so I read a crazy stat. That touchdown, the 62-yarder, it said it was the longest air yard touchdown in NFL history.
What?
I don't know if that was true, or maybe it was for this season or what, but it was something like, it was just because it was like he threw it from like the 30 something, I think, so it was like, it was a monstrous touchdown. Like a lot of times you get a Hail Mary, it's usually like from, the 50 or the 40. Like Walker, like that was a 62-yarder just scrimmage, but he was behind the line of scrimmage and he caught it in the end zone. So air yard wise, I think it traveled like closer to 70 yards. But just an amazing throw. But anyway, love the stat for this week. Walker's just like Heineke, Walker's 5,200 on DraftKings. Moore is only 300 more than McLaurin. He's 5,800. So like another just cheap stack that I like. And the Bengals, they just lost Chidobe Awuzie, who was shadowing number 1 wide receivers. They deactivated Eli Apple last game. Now he's going to have to step up and be potentially the number 1 corner, because didn't Taylor Britt get hurt last game, or like he got banged up?
So, yeah.
Yeah. So like the Bengals are suddenly completely out of sorts. And like it just, things got sour real quick for the Bengals, man. And like you mentioned, his Panther defense kind of head scratchingly gave up a lot of points and yards to the Falcons. Although I think this Panther defense actually has the potential to be pretty good. I mean, they got JC Horn and a lot of good players. They didn't trade Burns, so maybe it's a lower scoring game. But either way, I mean, 5,200 and 5,800 for Walker and Moore. I think that's way too cheap. And then a couple more. I like buying low on Derek Carr here again, and with Devontae Adams. Carr is just 5,400, so Adams is expensive, but after that dud, I think it's got to be a squeaky wheel type of situation. This Jaguars defense, they let Russell Wilson and Jerry Jeudy finally get off, so I don't really have too much respect for them. They're also coming back from London, so who knows where they're at, physically. And I like the stack on the other side of the ball. I know we were kind of down on Trevor Lawrence this week, but at 5,200, you can pair him with Christian Kirk at 5,500. That's a pretty cheap stack in a game where if the Raiders kind of bounce back from their offensive showing, because coming into that Saints game, the Raiders are one of the top offenses in the league. So I think that Saints game is more just like letdown spot, going on the road. New Orleans, one of those party cities, got, who knows what went down. But they just came out completely flat, laid an egg. I think they'll be back at it this week, and that could force the Jaguars to kind of do something. And he could also just throw the ball a lot to ETN to help his numbers. Yes. Like stacking him, though, with Kirk. You could even go Zay Jones or Marvin Jones as well, but Kirk at 5,500, I like that price for a number 1 receiver.
Yeah, so PJ Walker's completed air distance was 67.6 yards.
Woo,
to DJ Moore. I think that I remember watching on Next Gen Stats the video of like the top 10 of all time, and I think 67.6 would be the top one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't want to make sense. Yeah, don't quote me on it, because I don't want to say it definitively, but I'm pretty sure I read that stat. It was the top one. But at least since they've been tracking it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but I love that stack, and yeah, PJ Walker's looking like the PJ Walker from the Houston Roughneck days in the XFL when he was like the MVP. And he has definitely helped DJ Moore. I think if you have DJ Moore in season-long formats, you do not want PJ Walker to lose this job at all, which I don't think he will at this point, right? I mean, it's his job the rest of the season if he can keep this up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they seem to love him as a leader, and he looks better than any of the other quarterbacks that they've trotted out there. I talked about last week, the reason I was on the Panthers was because the Falcons get no pressure, right? So PJ Walker, from a clean pocket, his passer rating was 115. Under pressure, obviously struggles, right? Well, this year, he's actually been a little bit better under pressure. His passer rating under pressure is 96.7, according to Pro Football Focus. That is actually higher now than his rating from a clean pocket, which is 93. So he's, he'll still take, sacks when he's under pressure. Sack rate's still pretty high, but when he actually gets the ball off, I think you could see, you could see some success here against this banged up Bengals defense. So, like the matchup for him, and I like the Panthers I think the Panthers are going to continue to play hard. I don't think they feel like they're out of it just yet. All right. Who do you like for dart throws?
All right, so I got a handful. Running back is always tough because sometimes it's obvious, when the starter gets hurt and you play one of the cheap guys. So I'm going Damian Harris, sort of middle of the pack. He could be sneaky. His rostership should be really low. Everybody has moved on to Ramondre Stevenson, including me. But Harris actually started the game last week. He and Stevenson actually alternated drives on early down work, and Stevenson picked up all the third down work. But Stevenson sort of lucked out getting 16 carries to Harris's 11. Just that's how those drives worked out when Stevenson was on the field. Same thing with his 2-to-1 goal line snap distribution. That could easily go the other way this week for Harris, at least on early downs. So I think he's sneaky in a game where the Patriots should lean on the run quite a bit against the Colts. So I like Harris as sort of like a spend up to be contrarian kind of play. And then Rachaad White against the Rams. He's been eating into Fournette's role of late. He's looked better than Fournette, honestly. And, Tampa Bay could be looking for some spark in the running game. So any given week, White could pop off and leapfrog Fournette. I'm not saying that's going to happen this week, but he's certainly worth a dart throw in GPPs just in case that happens. Because once that happens, or once Fournette gets hurt, he's going to be pretty obvious that we should be using him. And then Sammy Watkins, he's way too cheap right now at 3,600 if both Lazard and Watson are out this week. He's a great GPP play at a very cheap price against the Lions this week, has a massive ceiling. And then on the other side, Khalif Raymond, he's only 4K. He's been really solid the past 3 games. He's either caught 5 balls or 75 yards in 3 straight. And, they just got rid of TJ Hawkinson, so he could see an extra 1 or 2 targets this week. So I love him. And then last but not least, I think Brock Wright is at least worth a flyer in a few teams at 2,500. The Lions, you kind of mentioned this a couple weeks ago, they were bizarrely using him quite a bit in week 7. He caught 4 balls for 57 yards. I think he dropped a touchdown or he had a touchdown overturn or something. But, with TJ Hawkinson gone, he's going to be their starting tight end. Could easily get 3 to 4 catches or even more this week. So at min price, he's certainly in play here.
What do you think about how they use James Mitchell going forward? Because Mitchell is a guy, he averaged over 16 yards a catch in school. Do you think do you think they traded Hawkinson to give Mitchell a bump too, or you think it was just kind of just to get a deal done?
Yeah, probably just to get a deal done. I'll have to look into Mitchell. I think I remember him from preseason, but I'll have to look into that. I think at least initially it'll probably be right getting, over 50% of routes run, but certainly I think they're going to be just looking at all these guys, maybe Shane Zylstra or whatever. They're definitely going to see what they have. So who knows what they were thinking, but I think it was just to get some assets initially. But I think out of the gate, it'll be right. But yeah, Mitchell's the guy to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, I do like Khalif Raymond a lot, though. I think he's a guy. He's inside my top 36 this week. I don't think people are going to be on him as much as they should. I will go with Terrace Marshall Jr. Talking about PJ Walker. Well, Terrace Marshall Jr., he's run a route on 95% of the dropbacks the last 2 weeks. He had 9 targets last game, 87 yards on 4 catches, but it could have been a much bigger day. PJ Walker repeatedly targeted him inside the 10. He had 2 targets inside the 10 last games. So I think they said something on air about Walker's been looking to get him a touchdown or something like that. So
nice.
I would kind of keep an eye on Terrace Marshall going forward. He's really inherited that number 2 role, and he's been a lot better than last year because I don't think that big slot role fit him. I think he's better as an outside receiver, and we've kind of seen that this year. Zay Jones, another guy, he's 99% routes run over the last 3 weeks, 90% on the season. So, again, I think it's got to be for the Jaguars. It can't get worse than against the Broncos. That's just a really tough defense. So I do think some of their skill guys bounce back this week against the Raiders. I think Van Jefferson's interesting too. He's 64% routes run in his first game, did not get targeted. So probably nobody will be on him now, but that could go up. He could become 80% guy, and Cooper Kupp is banged up. Higbee's running fewer routes. So there are targets to kind of go around all of a sudden in this Rams offense. So I think Jefferson could be sneaky. And Tyquan Thornton, he's been quiet, but his routes run 84% last game, 80% on the season. and he's averaging about 3 times as many yards per route against zone coverage, than against man coverage. And the Patriots going up against, who are they playing? I'm forgetting who they're playing now.
Colts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's again.
Yeah.
2-1. And the Patriots going up against the Colts. Colts love to play zone coverage, so this could be a spot for him. And Devontae Parker looks like he's going to be out as well. So I think Tyquan Thornton, you always want to kind of pay attention to these rookies second half of the year. It's now week 9. So yeah, like Thornton is kind of a buy low guy. Evan Ingram, he's super cheap. 94% routes run last game, 83% on the season. I think he deserves to be in the conversation of top 10 tight end this week. And he's 3,300 on DraftKings, so love him as well.
Yeah, I love the Terrence Marshall call. He's a guy that I think people were like trying to write off a bit too early, because he was a second rounder last year. And if you ever like when I was researching for Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson when they were coming out, like you couldn't help but notice Terrence Marshall commanding targets with both those guys on the field. So I think he's legit. And like you said, if PJ Walker's promising him a touchdown this week, maybe we should use him in our DK lineup this week.
Yeah, and let's do that. Let's jump over to DK and create a tournament lineup.
Pretty good pricing this week. Let's go with the guy we've been talking about a lot lately, PJ Walker.
All right, like it.
He's cheaper on this than FanDuel, I think.
Yep, 5,200. All right. All right, so let's go Terrace Marshall then. Let's
I love it.
Mix it up. Like we could that's gonna be leverage on DJ Moore too. I think he'll be like super highly rostered. So let's go to Terrace Marshall Jr. 3,900. So that leaves us almost 5,800 for the other 7.
All right, let's go to the defense. Since we got a pretty cheap team so far, let's see where we're actually at once we get a defense in there. So we got Patriots are expensive. I do like them going up against Ellinger though. Got the Bills against the Jets. See any cheap ones?
The Bucks against the Rams, just 3K.
Yeah, no kidding. Actually, wow. Yeah, they're my 4th or 5th highest. Okay, yeah, let's go with the Bucks. Get some pick sixes from Stafford.
Right. Yeah, so they're only 3K.
Oh, yeah,
so
they're way too cheap. Wow.
that gives us over 6,300 for 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tight end, flex. Nice. All right, let's see who you like at running back. Travis Etienne. Oh man, he's 6,300. My RB3. Yeah, we're going with him.
I hope he's chalky there. That's ridiculous. Let's see. Yeah, running back pricing looks pretty good, except for him. I guess Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, he's too cheap too.
We have to spend up at some point. So let's go with D-Hop at 7,900.
Nice. All right, so we still got 5,925 for running back, wide receiver, tight end, flex. Let's see. Let's go Tunyon at tight end because I think a lot of people are going to be on Aaron Jones. Mm-hmm. So let's get some leverage. He gets a touchdown against that last ranked line defense in DVOA.
Easily have a two touchdown game here. That's what we're looking for. Let's see. So we got
6,600 for running back, wide receiver, flex.
Let's send it back. So we got the Panthers stack. Let's send it back with T. Higgins at 7,300. I mean, he had such a dud Monday Night Football. I can't imagine too many people going back to him, but they should. Horn is back, so probably going to be on him quite a bit, right? But
yeah,
not worried about it.
He did moss some. What did he moss? He mossed somebody on Monday Night Football, so it wasn't a total loss. And he still got the touchdown.
He still had a good game, but just at least the first 50 minutes were bad.
Yeah,
but he's too cheap this week.
Yeah, I think I'll just go Kenneth Walker here. 6,200. That's just way too cheap. I still have him. I think RB7. So, not really tripping over last game.
Yeah.
So you have 64.
Oh, Chris Godwin, fire it up.
Do it.
He's 6,200.
Yep. All right. So pretty balanced team. PJ Walker, 5,200 at quarterback against the Bengals. We got Travis Etienne at 6,300 at running back against the Raiders, along with Kenneth Walker at 6,200. Our wide receivers, DeAndre Hopkins at 7,900 against the Seahawks, T. Higgins 7,300 against the Panthers, Chris Godwin 6,200 against the Rams, and then Paris Marshall Jr. at 3,900 stacked with PJ going against the Bengals as well. Robert Tonyan, the tight end, at 3,800, and the Bucks D at 3K at home against the Rams. Oh, we got a Godwin Buck stack. Do we want to?
Yeah, I noticed that. That's probably fine.
Okay.
Again, if even if the Bucks go up big, let's say they pick off Stafford, they're still gonna have to throw.
Yeah, and then Godwin's kind of an extension of the run game.
Yeah, I think that still works. But that's a good catch. I was thinking that too, but it still works, I think.
All right, lock it in. All right, let's jump to FanDuel.
All right, I'm gonna go with Raheem Mostert. He's 6,500. He's perfect FanDuel play, and they just trade away Chase Edmonds. They brought in Jeff Wilson, who I think you like a little bit more than I do, but I think at least the first week they ease him in. Worst case scenario would be he's the goal line back immediately, but I think this is a spot against the Bears. They should be able to lean on the run. They had to go away from the run early last week because the Lions took a 10+ point lead. But this week I think they'll be able to lean on Mostert for most of the game.
Yeah, I think with Wilson, it's more so, obviously Edmonds fell out of favor. So yeah. Wilson is a guy that McDaniel, he kind of knows what he's getting out of him. So I just think he could eat into Mostert's workload over the long term a little bit more than Edmonds was. So they just kind of decided they didn't want anymore. All right, let's see.
Yeah, let's go with Brady here.
All right. Yeah, that is super cheap for Brady. Let's go with the Dolphins.
Nice. I was looking at that.
Yeah, because they're still a top 5 defense for me just because Justin Fields gives up so many sacks. So let's go Dolphins D. They're only 3,600. They are favored. It's on the road, but it's Bears always a great matchup for opposing defenses.
Yeah, I like that one. Let's see, wide receiver. So how much do we have average?
7K exactly for 2 wide receivers, tight end, flex.
Gonna go with, let's see, we went Tonyan on the other line. Gonna go with Hayden Hurst in this one. He's only 5,300.
Oh wow.
On FanDuel.
Right.
No Andrews, no Kelsey.
No Taysom.
No Isaiah Likely.
Right.
All right, yeah, so no Taysom. No Taysom. True.
I guess we need to stack Brady with somebody, so I'll go with Mike Evans.
There you go.
About time he gets some touchdowns. Perfect FanDuel play. Probably see a lot of Ramsey, but
yeah, it's fine. Hopefully, it doesn't get ejected.
Right.
They usually
the Saints.
No, I know, but I could see them getting into it.
Yeah.
Well, they're feisty, but like that play. Because we went Godwin on the other one, so we have 7,500.
Yep.
Player. Looking up like the Christian Kirk, Romeo Dobbs range. I think I'm gonna go with like a 6K guy. We already have Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
All right. I think Christian Kirk might be too cheap.
Oh yeah, 6,300.
Yeah, 6,300. Just I think that range is gonna be sneaky. Let's go with Christian Kirk.
All right, so that leaves us 8,700 for a flex.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Tyreek Hill is exactly 87.
That's what I was thinking.
Hopkins.
If there's a guy that we can use in 2 lineups, I would grant permission for Hopkins.
Let's see. We got Kirk, so let's go Adams. Let's see some money on the table and we'll do it like that. Nice. I think people will be off him a little bit. So, all right. So we got Brady at 6,900, Mostert at 6,500 at running back, stacked with the Dolphins defense at 3,600, Aaron Jones at running back at 7,800, Terry McLaurin, wide receiver, 7,200 against the Vikings, Mike Evans at 7,700 against the Rams, stacked with Brady, Christian Kirk, 6,300 against the Raiders, and Devontae Adams at 8,100 in the flex against the Jags, and Hayden Hurst at tight end at 6,300. All right, so lock it in. Boom. All right, that is going to do it for the Week 9 Fantasy Flex Fantasy Preview episode for our full breakdown of our player projections. Be sure to check out our Week 9 player projections episode out now over on the Action Network podcast channel. We'll be back with the night shift episode later in the week. You can check out actionnetwork.com for all of our fantasy football content, fantasylabs.com for our DFS tools and models. And you can find Sean on Twitter at @the_oddsmaker and me at Chris Raybon. And we'll be at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Until next time, let's get this shmoney.